So EJ, I want to talk first about last season. How do you feel like that one went for the team, and how do you feel like you guys grew as a team throughout the season?
Think for one, it was a great experience to play with the seniors that I did. I want to give a hats off to all of them because they really made my first year a great a season to remember. Quentin, Finn, Colin, Ben, all those guys. I mean, it was a great year. We had a lot of laughs. It was just a great team. Like we had a great team last year on and off the field. But I think it was definitely just a great year all around. Not the scores and all that might not show it, but I think that it was a stepping stone for what's to come this next year, and just really built our bond with the guys that are returning. I could say that.
I'm sure. And if anything, it was a very unique year since all the
Yeah,
COVID protocols you had to go through. And
a lot of weird
of
stuff going
all
on.
the moments that happened throughout the year, what was your favorite moment and in any game? What was your favorite moment? Because there were a lot of great moments.
Yeah, I think when I'm not to toot my own horn, but when I did throw the game winner to Jacoby, I think just because that was our first game with fans back. So when I got the game to come in 1 point against Ballard, that touchdown that I threw to him, the sideline for one was going crazy. The limited amount of fans that we had there was crazy, and there were so much noise. It just felt normal, and it felt good to just feel that moment. And it was just a great moment for our team.
Totally. And do fans tend to was it difficult to kind of get the team pumped up in big moments when there weren't fans, and did that certainly help when fans did come back?
Um, it was different for sure to have to go from having people supporting you in the stands to have them just knowing that they can't really be there for you right now. Then they have to watch through a screen, and us having to stay, I guess you could say hype, but really like stay focused because that's really what happens when it comes down to when you have fans because you have people watching you. You have to do it for somebody that's in the stands. So it really just gives you more motivation to work in the stands. But outside of fans being in the stands, I think we did create a lot of our own energy. I feel like there's nothing that can really simulate the fans being there because they would still cheer when we're losing, winning, regardless. But we didn't have that part, especially when we were losing um, in big games that we needed to. But at the part of creating our own energy, it was really something different that I never felt. So it was very different and very hard. I could say that.
Yeah, I'm sure, and I'm sure it's of course, unique and challenging year. And switching over to how, for you individually, how do you feel like how do you feel like you got through the season last year? I know it was your first season, so I'm sure just getting thrown into the first game as the varsity starting QB when
Yeah.
you haven't even stepped a foot in Garfield yet, I'm sure it's a
Mm.
pretty challenging task.
Uh, it was, but at the same time, I was ready for anything, whether I was gonna play JV or play varsity. But I think all the work that I put in and that all the like just coaching points and stuff that I got from my coaches and my trainers just really helped me for that because everybody knew I had a chance to get on varsity, and when I did get the spot, um, I was excited, of course, but I knew like I had to be ready to work because I've never played high school football before. It was my first game, especially as a freshman. It's hard, especially playing quarterback. And I did have some jitters in that first game, but once I started playing, it just went away.
That's good. Totally. I'm sure I mean, that's how it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. But talking about, you go from, you're starting quarterback in your freshman year. How did you start playing football? Was it from a super young age, or when did you start playing?
mm Yeah, this is a good story. I started in about first grade, very young. I started off playing quarterback, but then a few years, like every other year, I would switch from quarterback to wide receiver and stuff like that. But I permanently switched to quarterback about fifth grade, and then I just never switched back ever since. But starting from a young age, I think it just really helped me get to where I needed to be because I've been used to it. I've been hit before in pads. Of course, it's not the same going from youth to high school, but I know what to expect. I know there's contact. I know you have to get through that stuff. And playing youth, starting from a young age, really built me up to that. Being able to take big hits and be able to bounce back from it and try to go make a play the next play. And uh, my youth coaches at the time when I was really young throughout my whole youth career playing for the SeaTac Sharks, it was
Mm.
the same coaches that I have at Garfield. Like our head coach, Coach Reggie Witherspoon, he coached at SeaTac for a little bit, not when I was there, but then the offensive line coaches and the defensive line coaches were two of my coaches when I was little too. So I think I really came into a good situation with them being my coaches as well, and it helped me transition.
Wow, yeah, and that's an interesting fact that, yeah, I mean, you already knew a lot of the coaches here, and so if you're
Yeah,
well acquainted, they know you. I'm sure it's a huge benefit going in.
yeah,
And so, looking at how you're preparing for next year, would you say what's kind of the team doing this summer to kind of prepare? Because this is the first normal year. I mean, you're having now. This is finally
yeah,
kind of what you've been waiting for a normal year.
yeah. I think we so we started our off season the Monday after our last game. After we lost to Blanchette, that Monday we started in the
Wow.
weight room. We were in there 5 days a week, and then so we went through that all the way till about the end of May. We had a week off. Then we got into our summer ball, which we have practice 4 days a week and weights 3 days a week. I think, can't remember. We have a lot, but our off season has started right after the season ended because we know that there's no time to waste, especially having that short season and short season being in the spring that I think gets into it. And everybody on the team that's returning, getting bigger, faster, stronger, and we really just trying to just start some normalcy and really be able to get into the weight room, on the field, work on our stuff to get ahead because we're really set behind being a public school. We were really set behind. We didn't have our weight room. We couldn't practice for a few months in between each other. It was a setback, but we're not gonna let that happen again.
Right, and so looking at how the as it's getting close to the season, when will the kind of I know you guys had a scrimmage it was last Thursday, I think.
Yeah,
When
against
will
Winterville.
the very intense kind of practices that are just before the season, will that start about 2 weeks before, or is that even earlier?
I think it started about last week. We got pads about 2 weeks ago, but now that we're in pads, we're starting to pick up the contact. It's really going to start picking up in these next 2 weeks because we're gonna have to get as ready as we can in the pads before we have to take them off for a week and a half until we can get started back in August 18th because we're done at the end of July. So these next 2 weeks are going to be really crucial in stepping forward into when the season really starts because we're installing a lot of new stuff and we're building the foundation basically to where we step after once we come back from those 2 weeks being off.
Okay, interesting. And looking at just last thing about going into next season, what do you think is the biggest thing going into next year that was maybe a weakness for you guys last year that you think has really improved coming into this season on your team?
I'm gonna say being bought in. We have around 45 kids that are signed up on the roster right now,
Mhm.
to where some public schools that I know of and I only have 12 guys showing up. Us being bought in is really helping us because we're all there. We're getting the work in. We're getting stronger at the same time where we need to be. We're getting faster. And we're building that camaraderie that we really didn't have because we didn't have an actual off season last year to be able to do that. We didn't have preparation time. We had to work out on our own public gyms that got closed down again. So I think being able to really come together as a team and do all this stuff, have an actual off season is the biggest factor going into this upcoming season.
Well, awesome. I'm sure everyone's looking forward to the start of the season, and it's
Yeah,
should shape up to be a great season. It looks like you're gonna start the season off against Bainbridge High School on September
Across
3rd.
the water.
That'll be a great game. And yeah, thanks for coming on the interview.